Hey, I'm Kelly from YouTube. Ever scratch your head about all the various guidelines YouTube has? Ever wonder what's the difference between community guidelines, copyright, YPP, and advertiser-friendly guidelines? Have you ever had a video removed by YouTube and you weren't sure why? Well, stick around because in this series of 3 short videos, we'll sort it all out for you. As a YouTube creator, there are a few different sets of guidelines and policies that are important to understand. If you just want to post videos, it's important to know about our YouTube community guidelines and basic copyright law. If you want to make money on YouTube, there are a few more things you should understand, like our YouTube partner program policies and our advertiser-friendly guidelines. Okay, so let's start with YouTube's community guidelines, a set of common sense rules for what is and isn't allowed on our platform. These are mostly rules you'd expect, like don't harass others or post ultra-violent videos, but they also include some YouTube-specific rules you might not have thought of, like not posting a bunch of repetitive comments. So definitely take time to review them. And remember, the community guidelines apply to everything you do on YouTube, posting videos, comments, thumbnails, you name it. If you do violate our community guidelines, you'll get a warning the first time it happens. After that, if it happens again, you'll receive a community guidelines strike. But don't worry, strikes expire after 90 days, and over 90% of creators never get more than 1 strike. That said, if you get 3 strikes in a 90-day period, you're out, and your account will be terminated. If you do post something that crosses the line, we'll send you an email letting you know, and also give you information on how to appeal if you think a mistake was made. But what about using someone else's music in your video? Would that give you a community guidelines strike?
No, but it could get you a copyright strike.
Oh, so they're different from community guidelines?
Yeah. You mind if I sit? Thanks. Hey, I'm Matt, and in part 2 of this 3-part series, I'll give you an overview of copyright. Click this end screen to come on over. Hey, welcome back to this 3-part series about YouTube's rules of the road. In our last video, Kelly talked about our community guidelines and how they're enforced. In part 2, I'll get into how copyright works. Copyright is a legal right that gives the creator of an original work the exclusive rights to determine how it's used. Basically, you can't use someone else's videos, music, or other creative work in your videos without their permission. This even includes singing a song or reciting lyrics someone else wrote. So how do we enforce copyright? When a copyright owner sends a valid legal complaint, known as a takedown notice, we take down the content. We're required to do this by law. We're also required to prevent people from repeatedly violating other people's copyright on YouTube. So we set up a copyright strike system. If your content is the subject of a takedown notice, we'll issue a copyright strike. Our copyright strike system and community guidelines strike system don't affect one another. But no surprise, if you receive 3 copyright strikes, your account will be terminated and your videos will be removed from YouTube. There's no warning for copyright strikes, but the first 2 strikes have no impact on your account or what features you can access. Also note that there are some regional exceptions that allow you to include someone else's work, so be sure to read up on what counts as fair use in the public domain. You may have also heard of Content ID and wonder how it relates to copyright. Well, to help YouTube creators draw upon all the great content they love while still protecting the rights of copyright owners, we built Content ID, an automated enforcement system that lets some of the world's biggest rights holders find their work when it's being used by others and claim it instead of taking it down. So even though Content ID has a lot to do with copyright, a Content ID claim is not the same as a copyright takedown notice. In exchange for not issuing takedowns, which would result in copyright strikes, rights holders can use Content ID claims on videos to either track video performance but leave the video on the site, to block it on a country-by-country basis, or most often they choose to monetize the video by placing ads on it. Content ID claims never impact your channel or access to features. Over 90% of Content ID claims result in monetization or tracking, not blocking. That means millions of videos that would otherwise be removed and result in copyright strikes instead get to remain live on YouTube. At its heart, Content ID is an automated matching system. Machines can't account for things like fair use or rights holder errors. But don't worry, you can dispute a Content ID claim if you think it's invalid, and will often hold the revenue that the video is making and pay out the appropriate party once the dispute is resolved. So now you might be thinking, as long as I'm following the community guidelines and not violating copyright, then I can become a YouTube partner and make ad revenue, right?
Not quite yet.
What?
Let me sit down. There are a couple more things to be aware of if you want to be a YouTube partner and make revenue from ads. My name's Mahalit, and in the third and final part of this series, I'll give you an overview of the YouTube Partner Program and our advertiser-friendly guidelines. Click this end screen to come on over. Welcome back to this three-part series about YouTube's rules of the road. In the first two videos, we talked about community guidelines and copyright. In this last video, I'll get into how the YouTube Partner Program and our advertiser-friendly guidelines work. Now that you've posted content that complies with those, what else could there be? Well, in order to make money on YouTube, you need to join the YouTube Partner Program, YPP. We built policies for YPP with the goal of rewarding creators who work hard on unique and original content. The success of the YouTube Partner Program relies on advertisers willing to associate their brands with YouTube videos. If they lose trust in YouTube, it can hurt the earnings of all creators. So we don't allow egregious behavior that has a large negative impact on the community. This means you should be respectful of your viewers, your fellow creators, and our advertisers, both on and off YouTube. For an overview of each YPP policy, click the card in the top right-hand corner of this video. Once you're in YPP, you can make money from features like channel memberships, super chat, or even create your own merch. You can also run ads on your videos. But in order to make money from ads on YouTube, your content must follow YouTube's advertiser-friendly content guidelines. Brands come to YouTube to connect with potential customers, but it's important to them that their advertisements only show on content that aligns with their brand. Because of that, we've worked closely with advertisers and, based on their feedback, have created advertiser-friendly guidelines. Advertiser-friendly content is appropriate for most audiences. It doesn't include sensitive themes like sexually suggestive material or drug consumption. Some brands are willing to show their ads on more mature content, but if your video contains mature themes, it might receive less revenue from ads overall, because fewer brands are interested in showing ads on your video. To learn more about advertiser-friendly guidelines, click here. And that's it. We hope this was a helpful overview of YouTube's community guidelines, basic copyright, YouTube Partner Program policies, and advertiser-friendly guidelines.
These systems all work together to keep YouTube safe, legal, and allow you to make money. So be sure to familiarize yourself with the ones that make sense for the way you intend to use YouTube.
If you missed any of these 3 videos, please go back and check them out. Thanks!